Hello, everybody. It is Jeff Farrell and Andrew Tanzi here with you, and we are the Parlays for Days Sports Betting Podcast until now. For those of
Whoa.
you that haven't heard, maybe you don't follow us on Twitter, you didn't check it yet, you haven't seen, we have officially decided to change the name of our podcast. So before we introduce you the new name, the new brand, we just want to get a few things out of the way. There's not really going to be major changes in terms of content. We're still going to be recording every Wednesday night. Podcast is going to be in your feed first thing Thursday morning. It's still going to be all the same great content and analysis you've come to know and love with us thus far. We're actually working on adding a YouTube feature right now. You may get it for this podcast. It may take until next week, so you get to see my beautiful face and mustache. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for Rue. You'll have to put up with his ugly face for the entire episode. So we'll add that as a viewing option to the podcast. So without further ado, drum roll, please. We are the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast. So, new name, new logo, bit of a fresh look. Rue, let me bring you in here and let you tell people about the vision and what they can expect moving forward.
Yeah, so if you do follow us on Twitter, you probably realize we really haven't been posting as many parlays or SGPs or anything like that like we have in the past. The content of the podcast has mainly been us talking about our straight spread bets, total bets, prop bets, all that stuff. So we wanted to kind of make a shift towards a podcast and page focused more on how we actually bet, which is focused more on turning a profit in the long term. We've obviously been giving out some tips on the previous episodes and things like that. We'll continue to do things like that with anything that comes to mind.
Tanzi's tips.
Yeah, Tanzi's tips. Look, parlays and these long shots, definitely a fun way to bet. There's nothing wrong with these people on Twitter posting these long shot parlays every night. It's fun. And it really isn't our style of betting. So we wanted to kind of, make this shift, like I said, towards long-term profit. So overall, we just wanted a name that kind of reflected the way we approach betting. No major changes, like Jeff said, in the content or anything other than possibly a YouTube feature. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
We're excited. Let's get going. First week at the new name, first episode. Let's dive into it. So let's start with our week 4 recap. Our debate of the week went to me finally getting off the schneid. The Packers covered the 7-point spread against the Steelers. So you moved to 2-1. I moved to 1-2. Any thoughts on the corpse of Big Ben and the Pittsburgh Steelers?
No, look, I had said I thought they could do enough to at least leave the back door open, and
it was open. I'll give you that.
Exactly what happened. They got the ball left with some time at the end of the game to possibly go down and get some points and cover the spread. But Big Ben had other plans, throwing a pick on the last drive, and I'm not going to make excuses or anything. That offside call and that field goal right before half. I mean, that was just absolutely crushing. That was a 10-point swing in one play that was absolutely blown by the officials. So, regardless, I'm not going to say anything positive about the Steelers offense. I'll get into that later. They look absolutely terrible, but I don't think I was far off from getting a cover in that game. So, but okay. I'm glad you got your first win of the season. I couldn't win them all.
Feels good to be back on the board. Although I'm pretty sure you did predict last week that you felt like you were actually just going to win them all. So let me put that to rest. Favorite bets of the week. You moved to a nice 3-1. The Browns -2 with the W's. Getting a little nervous when they let the Vikings go right down the field on that first drive, but they put the clamps down on defense. Came through with a win. Anything nice to say about the Browns?
Yeah, it was, same kind of vision I had for that game. I said the defense, I feel like, continues to get a little bit underrated. And then after that first drive, like you said, they just put the clamps down. Baker played probably his worst game, and they still were able to pull out the win. And that run game, which started out slow, it just, when you keep pounding away with those two running backs that you can kind of keep fresh by rotating them in and out, it wears on the defense. Yeah, it wears you down. And after a slow start, they still ended up rushing for over 150 yards in the game. So, I feel pretty good about the Browns this week too. We'll get into that later.
We'll see about that. All right, my favorite bet of the week: Jalen Waddle over 4.5 receptions was a big fat L. I moved.
That was your favorite bet of the week? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was. I was stuck between that and Gesicki, and of course, I went with Waddle. I believe he had 3 catches in the first half of the first quarter, And then I think he had one target the rest of the entire game. It made no sense. And the game script was the Dolphins were throwing because they were down. So I don't know what happened with that offense, but I guess that's what I get for trusting a receiver to catch passes from Jacoby Brissett. So can only be mad at myself. Long shots of the week. You went with a Joe Mixon double tutty Thursday night football game. He did not come through for you, so you moved to 1-3 overall. I had a nice win. You didn't get one. You got halfway there. We'll give you that. I went to 2-2 on my long shots. I had a real nice win. I had the Browns money line and the under 54.5. The under was pretty much a stone cold lock from the first quarter in that game. It was really just whether the Browns could pull out the win, and they did. Felt good about that, and that was a nice W for me. Our parlay of the day, another heartbreaker. After last week, we lose on a Christian McCaffrey injury. This week, Mike Gesicki over 3.5 receptions, win. Bills over 3.5 touchdowns, easy win. And then Antonio Gibson. So the line opens early in the week at 65.5. And we like it. We think Gibson's going to smash on that. He gets questionable throughout the week. He's like missing practices, but still expected to play. Line drops to 61.5. He finishes with 63 rushing yards. And of course, we locked in the parlay with the 65.5. So just absolutely heartbreaking.
Unbelievable.
You can't even make this stuff up at this point. Like,
and we were talking last time how props rarely go down in certain situations.
They never go down.
I think it was on Thursday. It came out with he had a shin injury or something, so I think they dropped it. Apparently, his shin's worth 4 yards, so they dropped.
Apparently, it was because he got 63. So
yeah,
the shin
crazy.
was worth something.
Crazy.
Our prop sheet went 4-3 on the week. We moved to 20-15 overall. 4-1 on Sunday. Got off to a great start. Unfortunately, the Monday night game was just kind of weird. The Chargers, we had Eckler and Williams both over receiving yards. Really no one on the Chargers outside of Jared Primetime Cook came through with much in the receiving game. So we were still able to squeeze out.
Didn't get a catch in the second half. We had him at 34.5 yards. He had 28 after the first half. Didn't have one catch in the second half.
Yeah, he should have been there. Williams was not even close.
Like, he never had a chance.
But yeah, Eckler should have got there. But look, Gesicki was plus 125. We still made a decent profit on the sheet. We're still 20-15 overall. Feeling okay. All right, ready to get into our heroes and zeros of the week to wrap up week number 4.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, your hero of the week is?
My hero of the week is Saquon Barkley. It was, I ended up, I think I talked about on the podcast last week that I wanted to take the Giants. I couldn't really find anything. And then later in the week, I ended up taking Giants 7.5. And we also had Saquon over receptions and over yards. So, it makes such a difference having a healthy Saquon back in this offense. So 50 yards on the ground and a touchdown, 74 through the air and a touchdown, and obviously the game-winning touchdown in overtime. So helped us cast a few bets there, and Saquon is my hero of the week.
All right. Thank you, Saquon. My hero of the week is going to be the Cleveland Browns defense. As I said, they helped me hit a nice long shot. I was nervous after that first drive. Vikings went right down the field, but to lock up Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, like that's a pretty high-powered offense. To hold them to 7 points, that was really impressive. I think them and the Bills are slowly ascending to be possibly the top 2 defenses in the entire league. So Browns defense, my hero of the week. Your zero of the week is?
This is a no-brainer. Big Ben, what are you doing, man? It's just getting tough to watch week in and week out. How many, 3rd and 5s and 4th and 5s towards the end of the game, he steps back and throws a pass for 2 yards or behind the line. It's amazing. Like a 4th and 5 in a must-convert situation to give them any chance. He throws a ball literally a yard behind the line of scrimmage. I think Deontay Johnson, he gets tackled right away. Never even had a chance. It's just he threw 40 passes and only threw for 230 yards. It's getting absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know what else needs to go wrong for this offense for them to throw Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins in there, honestly.
Anyone, just try it. It's probably not going to be much of a different result, but you've got to at least try something.
It can't be worse. At this point, it just can't be worse. And I know Big Ben's he's done a lot for the franchise and stuff, but at some point you just got to cut loose because there's no reason. Obviously, there's some offensive line issues, but there's so much talent at the skill positions on this team. There's just no excuses for how poor this offense is.
Yeah. Yeah, they have 3 awesome receivers, and they're basically irrelevant outside of maybe Deontay Johnson, but they can't get the ball. My zero of the week is going to be John Harbaugh.
Come on.
Okay, wait a minute. This was a great win by the Ravens. I bet on the Ravens. I was pumped. No sweat winner over the Broncos. They went in there, had a very nice road win, but I thought it was absolutely ludicrous at the end of the game that he sent out the offense to try and get a 3-yard run to break a record. Okay, it's stupid for so many different reasons. First off, it's a record that no one cares about. No one has ever talked about the team that ran for 100 team rushing yards in a game for the most amount of times. It's not like Lamar was going out to like break the passing record or like throw a 9th touchdown in a game to break the record, something like that. It's a record that no one cares about. Second off, every running back on your roster that started the season there is injured partially because you decided to play guys in the preseason and try and win games rather than keep them healthy. And third off, it was just a dangerous play. You have Lamar Jackson, the cornerstone of your franchise, running off the left tackle in a BS spot. The Broncos could have easily taken a cheap shot. And then the best part was they're interviewing Harbaugh after the game. He's basically saying like, yeah, this was a really important record. We had to do this for the team. The players were really into this. And they asked Lamar Jackson in the post game, and he's basically like, yeah, I had no idea what coach was thinking. I went out there and the offensive coordinator pulled me off to the side and said, hey, run this ball out and get me more than 3 yards here. Don't take a knee. And he's like, okay, coach. And he had like no idea what was going on. And Harbaugh's out here saying that the players were all into this. Like, this guy is so ego driven. It's unbelievable.
It's just it's so ridiculous how mad Vic Fangio got. If the Broncos,
I agree with that, but it's just the injury risk for Lamar. Like, it's just not worth it. Like, you could.
It means something to him. It's a record that means something to him. Like, I don't know why it was made such a big deal. Like,
but if someone takes a cheap shot at Lamar there and he's hurt, like John Harbaugh could go to jail for like just malpractice on the sidelines. Unbelievable. 0 of the week for you, John Harbaugh. You can win all the preseason games and meaningless records you want. All right. Do we have a Tansy's tip of the week? Because if not, I do have something to talk about.
All you this week. Go for it.
All right. Jeff's jumbled opinion of the week. Let's talk about weather. Just want to make a quick point here about weather in the NFL games. We are getting a little bit deeper into October, so we're not full blown into like winter here up in the Northeast, but just make sure that you're checking the weather before these games. I know Rue and I stress about betting into the market early. A lot of times we find a lot of value. We're able to get closing line value on a lot of these spreads and totals. So obviously, it's a little bit hard to tell the weather that far in advance, but just check it out. There's definitely sites out there that can show you at least what the weather forecast is. So it doesn't have too much of an impact, but if you see that the forecast is calling for torrential downpour or 20-mile-an-hour winds, maybe just hold off on that total. If you want to bet the under, go ahead. But if you're looking at an over and it's a game, maybe it's in Cleveland where we've had some weather in the past year or two, like it's not out of the realm of possibilities for that to be possible. So just make sure that you're looking at the weather and don't just maybe you see a total that looks deflated. It might be for a reason, and it could be the weather.
Yeah, and look, if you buy into a spread early in the week, like, if I buy into a spread on Sunday or Monday and then it gets to Saturday or Sunday morning and the weather is completely changed, there's no shame in buying out of a bet. Like, it happens. Like, you jump on a line you think's going to be valuable and then something ends up changing. Same as if there was a big injury on the team. Like, I'm not going to stay in a bet if I don't think it's going to win anymore or something drastic.
Sometimes you get stuck if it moves enough. But yeah,
you know what I mean, though.
Yeah. All right. Anything else to say before we jump into week number 5?
Let's do it.
All right. First up, we have Thursday night football, NFC West battle between the LA Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are a 2.5-point home dog. Over under is 54.5. We have Chris Carson. It looks like he's questionable for this game. I've heard some interesting injury reports that he may not play. Rams obviously got stomped last week by the Arizona Cardinals, handed their first loss of the season. Seahawks somehow demolished the 49ers despite gaining what felt like 50 yards of total offense. So where are you at here? You have a lean on the side or the total on this one?
Yeah, so I jumped on this one. I don't remember if it was Sunday night or early Monday morning. I got the Rams money line at -112, so it's since moved a pretty decent amount. So I'm feeling
up to -140 right now.
Yeah, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. Look, the Rams, it was a bad game. There's no sugarcoating. It was just kind of one of those off games offensively. It seemed Stafford threw an early pick and Sony Michel had a fumble, and it kind of just dug them in a hole that they couldn't get out of. Stafford also missed a couple touchdown passes to Cooper Kupp, and just kind of one of those uncharacteristic games, honestly. And it was ugly, but what was uglier was probably the Seahawks win over the 49ers.
Also ugly.
234 total yards, 4.3 yards per play. I think they went 3 and out on their first 4 offensive series. I can't believe they ended up scoring 28 points and winning this game. The offensive line is still a huge concern in pass protection. They have the 5th worst adjusted sack rate in the league. There's a massive difference on third down success between these two teams. Rams are ranked second at 54%. Seahawks are ranked all the way at 27th at 33%. So, and we talk about all the time, this Seattle team, they just don't want to seem to let Russ do his thing. He's only averaging 27 pass attempts per game. In today's NFL, for one of the best quarterbacks in the league, that number to me is just absolutely absurd. And to round it off here, I have Sean McVay, 8-2 on the road after a loss, covering by an average of 10 points. Give me the Rams.
All right. I have not made a play on the side or total here. For me, I think I'm going to live bet this game. I feel like this is a game that's going to be close. I think if either teams takes a 7-0, a 10-3 lead, something like that, I'm going to try and get the dog if I can get them, plus 4.5, plus 7.5, try and get over some of those key numbers. That's probably going to be my look in this game. I don't really see either team blowing the other one out. I do have a Seahawks teaser. It's probably not my favorite teaser leg, but I do think getting them up to 8.5 at home on a short week in division, like that's a pretty good spot that even if the offensive coordinator keeps trying to sabotage Russell Wilson in this offense, I still think they can keep it close enough. And just to counter your Sean McVay trends and historical data, Russell Wilson is 9-1 straight up and 9-0-1 against the spread on Thursday Night Football. Also 8-0 in division.
Battle of the
trends. Anything else to say, or should we jump to the props for this game?
Yeah, let's get to the props. Don't have too much.
So not a ton here for the Seahawks side. I did take a piece of Chris Carson under 13.5 rush attempts. He only played 46% of the snaps last week, got 13 carries. We saw a lot of Alex Collins down the stretch. Like I said, Carson already missed practice this week, and it looks like he's going to be a true game time decision. So if he does play, I think they will look to Collins a little bit more. So I think that's a fair look. And then DK Metcalf, I just wanted to note, he obviously is a pretty tough matchup against Jalen Ramsey. Tyler Lockett's already a little banged up, but Metcalf's probably going to be lined up on Ramsey. He did go 6 for 59 in the one game that he played against the Rams during the regular season last year. Did you have anything on the Seahawks side?
Yeah, I was taking an angle at Chris Carson too. I was going his under 2.5 receptions. It was pretty juiced up to -180, which I usually don't like laying that much juice for a prop, but I ended up parlaying it with Patriots money line to get it to -106. Carson's ran less than 10 routes in the last 3 games. Didn't even have a catch in one of the games. So he feel pretty good about that, especially with him banged up and now seemingly splitting 50% of the work with Alex Collins. So
okay, so let me get your opinion on this then. So you took under 2.5 at -180. It looks like they also have under 1.5 right now at +105. Would you take that as well? Would you prefer that?
Yeah, honestly, I probably would. If you're running less than 10 routes in a team that's, like I said, averaging 27 pass attempts per game, and it's not like he's a receiving back really, and now you factor in that he's banged up, I'd probably take a shot at some plus money.
Okay, I like that. For me, I also have a play on the Rams side that I really like. The more I look into this game, I really like Darrell Henderson here. He has dominated the backfield. Last week, he came back from his injury, outcarried Sony Michel 14-3 in what was a negative game script from the start. He has touchdowns in 2 out of 3 games. Absolute workhorse when he's healthy. He went 16 for 70 in week 1 against the Bears, 13 for 53 in 1 against the Colts in week 2. He did leave that game early in the fourth quarter, so probably lost out on at least 5 to 6 carries down the stretch when they were running out the clock. And then, like I said last week, in the worst game script imaginable, still had 14 carries for 89 yards against the Cardinals. So I got him at over 57.5 rush yards and also found a +105 anytime touchdown score on Fox Bet. I believe it's around -110 on DraftKings at FanDuel. I'd still be fine with that. I think Darrell Henderson's in for a really good spot here.
Yeah, I like that. And then you factor in that Sony Michelle fumbled last week too, which
Right. He's also in the doghouse a little bit.
I don't know how much stock to put into that with certain coaches, but it doesn't bode well because Darrell Henderson, like you said, looking great when he's in there. So there's no reason to force Sony Michelle in there.
Yeah. Okay, that was all I had for this game. Do you have any other props or anything you want to say?
Nope.
All right, let's jump over to London. We're going across the pond here. Jets versus the Falcons. Falcons are 3.5 point, not home favorites, I guess road favorites. Over under is up to 46. So let me just set the scene here a little bit. This game is going to be played in London. I believe it's 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. It's going to be played at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in North London. Stadium opened in 2019, has a turf field and a retractable roof. I actually like the over a lot in this game. I played it right when it opened at 43. I think it's like bordering on out of range at 46 now. I still think there's going to be some points here. I did look at some of the historical games in London. It looks like there's a little bit over about a 45-point clip scored in the London games across all three stadiums. But they have played 2 games at this Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and both of them went over the total with an average of 54 points. No weather conditions, like I said. Retractable roof is going to be in play. So I took a piece of the over here. I also took a piece of the Jets at +4. I just don't think that the Falcons on a neutral field should be more than a field goal favorite over anyone, even the New York Jets. So that's what I'm on here. What do you got?
I don't think you can touch the total at 46. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I would have probably said
I wouldn't
45
even.
was the last place.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch it at 46. You can't trust the Jets offense after one okay game against the Titans, who's probably one of the worst defenses in the league. And
so are the Falcons.
The Falcons pretty much can shut down at any time on offense too. So I'm fine with the 43. I probably wouldn't touch 46. But look, I don't have a play on this game yet, but this might be the only sell high spot you ever get on the Jets the entire season, and yet I'm still scared to take the Falcons. They just continue to show week in and week out that they find a new way to lose games. It's just like they let up basically a Hail Mary off Heineke's back foot last week to get caught and take the lead, and I think they should be able to move the ball fine against this Jets defense. At least on paper, they should be able to. The Titans honestly move the ball pretty decently. They just imploded every time they got inside the 40 or inside the red zone.
It would take a sack and then settle for a really long field goal every single possession.
And look, I give the Jets some credit. I'm not going to take it all away from, but I don't think you're getting 7 sacks, 2 weeks in a row after only having 5 total through the first 3 weeks of the season. So I'm just so surprised this got down to -3. It really is a sell high spot on the Jets, and I might end up taking the Falcons here.
I don't see it. I don't see how you can lay points with the Falcons. Not at over a field goal. I did have a prop I really like in this game.
I have one prop as well.
Do you? I thought you were going to be like, how could you find a prop in this disgusting game? No one should be betting props here. Who are you on?
I would take a shot at Calvin Ridley. It's just this guy's got to pop at some point. And there's really no better There's really no better secondary to do it against, and he's getting the volume. The target volume's there. He's getting over 10 targets every week. He had 80 yards last week. His total's at 78.5 this week. So I took a shot on Calvin Ridley.
I like that. Yeah, if it's in the 70s, I think like you said, Ridley's too talented to be bottled up for this long. He's got to explode at some point. I was looking at Jamison Crowder. I think that him being back really helped Zach Wilson a lot. He went to him a ton last week, 7 for 61 and a touchdown against the Titans, led the team with 9 targets. I was really expecting his line to open up at 5.5 receptions. So at the 4.5 mark that is at, I am all over the over. I think that is at least a full reception short of where it should be.
What is the juice on that?
It was -140 when I got it earlier.
Not too bad.
That's kind of his role. He's a high volume, low ADOT type of receiver. I think he can definitely do that. His yards were like low 50s, but I'd rather take catches with a guy like Crowder.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's move to the Sunday 1:00 slate and go to the Packers and the Bengals. Bengals are 3-point home underdogs. This line, I believe it opened at Packers 4.5. So there's been quite a bit of money coming on the Bengals. The over-under is sitting at 51. I grabbed a piece of the over when this first opened at 48.5, so I'm feeling pretty good with that. I don't know if I would touch it here at 51. These are two of the slower teams in the league. I know this Packers offense is extremely efficient, but looks like they're both bottom 6 in the league in terms of pace of play. So I don't know how many possessions there's going to be, but I am really excited to watch this game. I think this is a good test game for the Bengals. 3-1 so far this season. Haven't played the toughest schedule, so I think this is going to be a real test game. Do you think the Bengals can rise to the occasion?
So first of all, early in the season, I don't buy into pace stats too much just yet. Probably wait until like 8 games in, just because
I think we're getting to the point where you can start to trust them a little bit.
Maybe a little bit, but it's just if you have teams that have been winning games by a lot or trailing. So obviously, if you're trailing, you're going to run faster, and if you're winning, you're going to run slower. So these are two teams that have had some comfortable leads in games or haven't exactly been playing from behind in most of their games. So that it makes sense that they're playing at a slower pace, but I took the Packers here at -3. I was waiting all week. I was shocked it got to -3. I saw it
same,
like you said, 4 and then 3.5. I set my alert on my phone to tell me when it gets to 3, and I was sitting at work and I was like, whoa, all right. So we got the 3.
Here we go.
And like you, I also took the over. I got at 49.5. Probably wouldn't touch it now, like you said, at 51, but. Look, the Cincy defense, highly graded, really haven't had the toughest schedule. The combined record of all their opponents are 2-10 right now.
Oof.
And on the flip side, Packers defense, extremely vulnerable, extremely banged up. Talk about it last week, how, Zadarius Smith not being there, the pass rush hasn't been great. Now you're without 2 top corners. So I don't see a ton of defensive stops in this game. And, with Joe Mixon banged up, probably not going to play. It almost just feels like a game that's going to come down to Rodgers versus Burrow. And I don't think Burrow has really been tested like that this season yet. He played from behind a little bit last week, and he got the job done, but it was against the Jaguars. So he's only averaging 26 pass attempts per game, and I think it's going to take more than that and more on his shoulders to pull this one out. So give me Aaron Rodgers and what I could see as a little bit of a shootout game.
Okay. I think that's very fair. For some reason, there's something like I kind of share your viewpoint on a lot of this. There's just something holding me back from betting the Packers.
It's one of those fishy lines. Every week
it is, yeah.
You kind of side eye some lines, and this is one of them where you're like, is this what am I missing here?
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. It just doesn't. Something feels off to me. I thought when the line first came out, I said, okay, if the Packers get to 3, I'll take them, and now they're here, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. So I have not made a play on this game, but I think I'm going to be on the Packers here. Any props that you would look at here? I don't really have anything. I think this is going to be a game with a decent amount of scoring, a decent amount of yards. Last week, I did take Jamar Chase over. I'm trying to remember what his longest reception was.
It was like 24.5 or 22.
Yeah, maybe you could look there again. It's hit every game this season. We don't have the props for this game for the Bengals side yet. We do have a couple Packers props. Nothing really stood out to me. So maybe I would look at a Jamar Chase for like an over longest reception, but not a ton here that I love, despite the fact that I do think it'll be a pretty high scoring game.
Maybe you check out like a Randall Cobb or something. He's definitely going to be more involved. You saw it last week with MVS out. So maybe if you get his receptions a little bit, in like the 2.5, 3.5 type range, wouldn't be a bad play.
I like that idea. That's a good call. Yeah, he definitely stepped up once MVS went out last week, and it was him, not Lazard. All right, let's jump to our next game on the docket here. We have the Titans and the Jaguars. The Jaguars are 4-point home dogs. Over under is 48.5. We do have a slight chance of some weather here. I saw 83 degrees, chance of rain, about 11-mile-an-hour winds projected right now. So I'm sure the Titans won't mind that. They can just run Derrick Henry every single play. The Jags did show some life last week against the Bengals, get an extra 3 days of rest to prepare here, or an extra 3 days to deal with Urban Meyer's off-field antics. So I'm not sure if that's necessarily a benefit or a negative. What do we got here? Is this a bounce back spot for the Titans? This number feels a little bit low, but we also still don't have word on Julio and AJ Brown. So that definitely had a big impact on this Titans offense last week.
Look, here's the key for the Titans. Don't allow 6 or more sacks in a game and you're going to win, because both games that they allowed 6 and 7 sacks or whatever it was. They lost both of them. So don't
Easier
do
said
that.
than done.
You might be okay if you just don't let Tannehill get sacked that many times. And last week, yeah, I got to wait until I see Julio or AJ Brown's in there, because that was a large part of it last week. There was just no separation from the receivers on the outside.
That's part of the sacks.
Yeah.
Tannehill has no one to throw the ball to.
So I've been trying to pull myself to take the Titans all week, and I don't know how much this line moves if Julio or AJ Brown gets ruled in, but I just got to wait for that news. If the money line ends up hanging below 200, I might just lay the odds there and take that, because I don't know if I want to lay points with this team. There's just on the other side, there's just so much distraction, things going on right now with Urban Meyer and the Jaguars, players saying he has no credibility. It's just probably the worst situation for a rookie quarterback to be in right now. And this organization is pretty much just a disaster. So I really don't think the Titans lose this game. So I want to have action on them one way or another. And side note, 10 career games versus the Jaguars, Derrick Henry, 1,013 yards with 12 total touchdowns, averaging 5.5 yards per carry. So
12 touchdowns?
12 touchdowns, 12 to, it was 11 rushing, 1 receiving touchdown, 5.5 yards per carry. And there was, I don't remember how many games, but there was like a few games where he only had like 60 rushing yards. So he's had like over 200 2 or 3 times. He's been at 150. So I'll be curious to see where his line opens up.
Probably in the definitely in the triple digits somewhere.
Yeah.
I did have 2 props here on the Jaguars that I was really interested in. I already bet both of them. First play for me is going to be Laviska Shenault over 56.5 receiving yards. This is not a bet based on Laviska's performances so far this season. This is a bet based on the roll chains that I am expecting him to get after the DJ Chark injury. It sounds like DJ Chark's going to be out for the year with an ankle injury. So we saw Laviska last week get some targets down the field, which is not what we've seen him do the first 3 weeks of the season. He was basically used at the line of scrimmage, and that's it. So average depth of target for the first 3 weeks of the season was 4.6 yards on average. So he's catching the ball very close to the line. ADOT in week 4, 13.6 yards. He about tripled his average depth of target. That's a massive difference. Went 6 for 99 last week. And we saw the Titans D get torched by, well, I don't know if I would say torched, but the Jets moved the ball pretty well against them. I think the Jaguars can do the same. Second prop for me, Trevor Lawrence over 18.5 rush yards. His attempts have gone up every game. 1, 2, 6, then 8. And then his rush yards, -2, 21, 27, 36. We have an upward trajectory here, as you can see, if you're watching. And I'm going to take the upward trajectory to go over 18.5 rushing yards.
I almost just like, I like the Shenault play. I almost just want to see it for a full game first, because I mean,
honestly, you basically did last week. Chark went down on like the 3rd play.
I literally don't know how much game planning is going on in this Jaguars organization right now.
Trevor Lawrence is basically writing the game.
That's what I'm saying.
There's no coaching.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, I really just want to see it at this point. And I don't hate the play, because it makes sense. Yeah, Chark's down. You need another downfield guy. They really don't have anyone else. They have like Tavon Austin hanging out there, but he's not really he's more of a around the line of scrimmage type guy.
He can take the Laviska Shenault role from the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not going to touch it, but I don't hate the play.
I feel like you could. I feel like I might have to make an SGP this week, just like an Urban Meyers, a donkey SGP, like the Titans -20.5, Derrick Henry 2 touchdowns and 100 yards. Just get like something crazy, like just in case the Jaguars come out and like clearly don't look like they've prepared for this game.
Yeah,
might be worth an option. All right, let's jump to our next game. We have the Dolphins taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers are 10-point home favorites. The over-under is 48. Bucs coming off a pretty emotional win in Foxborough, as we saw at the last second off the upright. Bucs win. Dolphins season is just about over. Even with Tua on the way back, they are staring 1-4 in the face right now going into this game. They need to win bad. I don't think this is a spot to do it. I think the Bucs have a clear advantage in the trenches. The Dolphins' offensive line has been bad this season. We know they're not going to be able to run the ball, and needing Jacoby Brissett to throw his way to a victory does not inspire a ton of confidence. So go ahead and talk to us about the Bucs and why they're going to be up by 30 points at halftime.
Yeah, look, this just has a get right game for this Bucks offense written all over it. I knew you said to me early in the week you think it's a letdown game against
Like,
after
you
coming
could
off the.
say it's a letdown
I don't
game.
think it is. I just think they've had 2 down games on offense, and I think they're just gonna, they're coming back home here, and I really think they're just gonna come out and just take care of business against this Dolphins team. And look, you said it, you can't run the ball against this Bucks defense. We've seen their biggest weakness is secondary, which is now even more banged up. The Dolphins can't take advantage of that. It's been
Oh, they can't.
absolutely pitiful watching this offense. It wasn't great with Tua, and it's only gotten worse with Brissett in there. So I haven't been laying this big of spreads, but the Bucks I took them at -10. It was at 10.5. It's open at 9.5, I think, then went to 10.5, and I got it at even 10. So
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. And I know I was talking to you about this early in the week. I also laid the juice at -185 for Bucks halftime, full time, so for them to be winning at half and then win the game. So that can be used as a really good parlay piece as well. Dolphins have only scored 20 first half points the entire season, which is 4th worst in the league, and only 10 points in the first half in Brissett's 2 starts, plus the first half of the Bills game where he played the majority. So most of the majority of their points over the last 2 or 3 games have come in, garbage time, and then that game against the Raiders where the Raiders pretty much took their foot off the gas at the end and let the Dolphins make a run at and scored 14 in the 4th quarter, whatever it was. So Bucks -10, Bucks halftime, full time. I think they take care of business here, no problem.
Yeah, I think your analysis makes sense. I still think it could be a letdown spot. I think it could also be a get right spot. I honestly won't be surprised either way. So I have no plays here. If the Bucks somehow did get down to 8.5, I would be all over this as a teaser leg. Maybe you could even use them in a money line parlay if you want to. But no play for me on the spread here. Does sound like Gronk's going to be out this week. We do have Tua still out for the Dolphins, and Will Fuller also just went on IR. So
Will Fuller's
injuries.
hurt? Shocking.
I know, that never happens. Weird for him. Props for here, I didn't have much. Maybe if you can find like a Myles Gaskin under half a rush yard, something like that. That should probably hit pretty easily. Damian Harris went for -4 last week, so got some plus money on that. Do you have any props here that you would look at?
Nah, nothing here for me. Unless if we get another low, like Waddle only had 3 catches last week. If he opens,
I can't do it. I can't do it again.
I might do it. Look, he's even if like Gesicki was, I think he was goosed until the 4th quarter, and then he ended up having 5 catches. So in garbage time, they're going to throw to someone. So maybe if you get a Gesicki or Waddle, another low line, you look at it, but it's not a desire play for me.
I might take a shot on Leonard Fournette here. I want to see where his numbers open, but we've kind of seen him take a stranglehold on this backfield. 20 rushes for 91 yards last week. Also had 3 catches for 47 yards. We saw Rojo only get 6 carries last week. Now, like, Fournette's been inconsistent. We know that the Bucs backfield is never something you can really fully trust, but I think that we've kind of seen a shift in that he's the primary back there. And if we expect them to be ahead and running, I think maybe you could look at a Fournette anytime touchdown, or if we get his yards somewhere in the 50s on the ground, I think that might be a spot I look at.
Don't hate that.
All right, that'll do it for this game. Let's jump over to Patriots and the Texans. The Texans are around 8.5-point home dogs. Over under is 39.5. This line opened, I believe it was Texans +10. So there are some people out there that are backing the Texans. God bless them. I couldn't do it. Patriots went toe-to-toe with the Bucs last week. Could have very easily won that game. The Texans had 10 days to prepare for the Bills game last week and came away with 0 points. Brandon Cooks also, I don't know what the record is, but I feel like he should be probably close to breaking the record for highest percentage of target share and team yards if Davis Mills keep playing quarterback. Typically, a 30% market share is considered elite for a wide receiver. Brandon Cooks has caught 53% of all completed passes by Davis Mills and accounts for over 50% of the team's total receiving yards, which is just unreal volume.
But he didn't hit his overs last week.
I was about to say, even with that,
I tried to tell you it wasn't going to hit
over.
Last week.
He had like 60% of the whole team's yards and still didn't go over his prop. So that was unfortunate. What do you have here? Is this just as simple as Bill Belichick against a rookie quarterback? Take it, or is this just too many points to lay with Mac Jones?
Well, it's just too low of a total for me to lay. 8.5 points. It's a 39.5 point over under. So
Don't
regardless
see
of
that
who's
very often.
regardless of who's playing, I don't want to lay 8.5. So it's going to be a teaser spot for me. I'm glad it finally got down to 8.5.
Yeah, it got the teaser range. I was shocked.
Yeah, so it was there on FanDuel earlier, but I like we said in the past, FanDuel's odds on teasers aren't worth playing. So it's finally there on DraftKings. So I'll probably be putting them in a teaser. Other than that, nothing really for me. I don't. Maybe you take a Texans team total under 15 or something, which isn't
that
the
was
worst.
what I wrote down. I actually like that a
so
lot.
that's they 0 last week, and it's well documented what Bill Belichick does to rookie quarterbacks. So not a terrible spot there.
We are on the same page. I wrote down those exact notes on Texans team total under. I was hoping to get it somewhere over 2 touchdowns. I think worst case, they score once. Maybe they kick 1 or 2 field goals. You're still looking at 10 or 13 points. You're good there. That's how I'm going to play this. Patriots and teasers, like you said, we're in agreement. Any props you would look at? Can I interest you in some Brandon Cooks?
Don't even try. Are you really going to play him again this week?
I mean, it's hard not to. I got to see where his number. If I get a number in the 50s, like you just have to bet it at this point.
No, you don't.
He had one down week, and he still had 6 for 50 or something last week. Would you look at like a Damian Harris? Do you think he gets back on track after being kind of irrelevant for 2 weeks? Now that should be a pretty easy defense to run on, or is it just not worth it?
I don't know. It was like every running back seemed like they were involved last week. Let me pull it up.
None of them were working, so they just kept rotating, seeing if any of them could pop, and they all just kind of sucked.
Do you know who led the Patriots in rushing yards last week?
I was about to say, was it Tom Brady?
It was.
I realized he wasn't on the team. Was it Mac Jones?
It was Nelson Aguilar. We have Nelson Aguilar with 1 carry for 4 yards. Brandon Bolden with 1 carry for 0 yards. J.J. Taylor with 1 carry for 0 yards. Mac Jones with a kneel down for -1, and Damian Harris with 4 carries for -4 yards. So
that's incredible.
And yeah, it's against the Bucs. It's not against the Texans, but who knows?
Doesn't inspire a ton of confidence.
If Brandon Bolden comes in for 2 plays and ends up getting 2 8-yard runs or something,
right? They're just going to keep him in.
We've learned not to really trust Patriots running backs in the past, so no need to force it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, let's move on to our Philadelphia Eagles traveling to Carolina to take on the Panthers. Panthers are 3.5-point home favorites. Over under is 45.5. Eagles got torched last week by the Kansas City Chiefs, as most people do, so I won't really say too many negative things. I thought they showed up and, they hung around for a little bit. Panthers, maybe it's a bounce back spot. They got kind of tossed around last week by the Dallas Cowboys, so they're coming off a loss. Couple injuries on the Eagles offensive line still. We don't know if Jordan Mailata's coming back. Lane Johnson still has personal issues going on, whatever that means. We don't know if he's going to play. Christian McCaffrey was back at practice today, so there's a chance that he is back. And I think if McCaffrey's back, I might be on the Panthers here. I want to see if it gets down to a flat -3. If we get that, I'm definitely going to take the Panthers. If it hangs out in that 3.5 to 4.5 range, it's probably a pass for me, just because I feel like this Eagles team is too volatile to take the points with. Maybe you look at their money line if you like them, but I can't lay. I don't even want to take the points with this team. They're all over the place.
Yeah, so I took an over here at 44.5. It opened at 46.5. I didn't like it there, and then I saw it drop to 44.5, and now it's heading back up. So
interesting. A little ping pong here with the total.
Yeah. So I'm pretty happy at 44.5. We've seen over the last 2 weeks that this Eagles defense really is kind of what we thought it was going to be heading into the year. Yes, it was against the Chiefs last week, but absolutely.
And the
Cowboys. But there's a difference between getting shredded by the Chiefs and Cowboys and doing what the Eagles did with just I can't think of any successful defensive plays other than a Patrick Mahomes interception that he just kind of tossed up in a bad spot or whatever.
Play.
Yeah, all right, it was a nice play, but regardless, they really can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. So they're getting exposed on all levels. Panthers have shown they've shown enough to be able to move the ball, especially if McCaffrey's back. I like this even more. And look, after allowing only 6 points week 1, 17 points in week 2, the Eagles defense is still ranked 24th in defensive DVOA. So that kind of shows how bad they've been. And the Panthers, I said it last week, they had a cupcake schedule to start the season, and everyone's crowning this the best defense in the league. They finally play a real team, and they get absolutely gashed for 36 points. 7.7 yards per play, 433 total yards, and 7.2 yards per carry. That's 7.2 yards per carry in a game, rushing for almost 200 yards is unheard of in the NFL. And I sold this Panthers defense last week by betting the Cowboys, and this week I'm selling them by taking the over in this game.
Yeah, Nick Sirianni is over there licking his chops, I'm sure. 7.2 yards a carry. He can't wait to get Miles Sanders out there for 2 carries and 14 yards. It's going to be electric, those 2 carries.
And then put Kenny Gainwell in and pass to him 15 times.
Yeah. Yeah, quick reminder to not bet Miles Sanders.
Yeah, don't make that mistake.
Plus receiving yards this week because Kenny Gainwell is there.
Don't believe what the coach says in a press conference. Where they're going to get Miles Sanders the ball. It's a lie.
They're going to get him on the bench apparently and play Gainwell for whatever reason. I did have a prop note here. I'm kind of disappointed by the line. I was hoping it was going to be a little bit lower. Did you see where DJ Moore opened up on his receiving yards?
I did not. It was only Eagles props when I last looked.
Would you like to guess?
76.5.
Nope. 86.5.
Wow, 86.
Yeah, that's aggressive. The Eagles are dead last in DVOA against opposing wide receiver ones. Don't tell Darius Slay.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, if Darius
go on
Slay's
Twitter
on
and remind you that he's only allowed 2 receivers in his career to go over 100 yards, despite me having vivid memories of like 6 different receivers beating our defense for over 100 yards last year. But, whatever you say, Slay. But Moore has had over 79 yards in every game this season, is averaging 99 yards. I just don't know if I can get there with 86.5. I might wait till this comes out on FanDuel and Barstool and Fox Bet and see if I can get somewhere under 80.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Just a lot.
Yeah, 86.5 is way too much.
Especially if McCaffrey's back. Maybe we just go back to his receiving yards. But yeah, you might want to see it for a week before you buy in.
If McCaffrey's back, maybe we take it back to Robbie Anderson unders if he gets juiced up. If the catches.
Oh, yeah, because he had like 4 catches last week.
And he had a bunch of targets too. So
I love that angle. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So Robbie went 5 for 46 last week on 11 targets. So if he's back to that 4.5, even 3.5 with some plus money on the under, I think you definitely go back to the under there.
If McCaffrey's back.
Yes, that's the caveat. I like that. Good call.
Thank you.
All right, let's jump to Lions and the Vikings, NFC North divisional battle. Vikings are 8.5-point home favorites. The over-under is around 49.5. Vikings desperately need a win here. Lions coming off another painful loss. I'm pretty sure they were inventing ways to not score in the red zone last week. Turnovers, failed 4th down conversions, snapping the ball off Jared Goff's leg while he's not looking and having it ricochet into a defensive lineman's hand. That was awesome for someone who bet the Lions and the over last week. Thank you, Detroit. I think this is a good get-right spot for the Vikings. They are in desperate need of some W's, so I like them here. I also think it's a nice buy low spot on the over. I grabbed the over here at the open at 49. I still think it's playable at 49.5. I think both of these are over teams, and I think you're getting a little bit of a discount here because of the last 2 weeks. So first 2 weeks of the season, these two teams, both their games flew over the over-under. Last 2 weeks, the Lions lost to the Ravens 19-17. Hollywood Brown dropped 3 touchdowns. That game could have easily had 50 points scored. Last week, the Lions go 1 for 5 in the red zone, 2 failed 4th down conversions, 2 turnovers. Could have easily kicked a few field goals there. Maybe they convert a 4th down, God forbid. And then the Vikings are coming off playing possibly the best defense in football in the Cleveland Browns and only scored 7 points. I think this is a decent buy low spot. I think this could be like a 31-24 type game for the Vikings.
Yeah, I might be more inclined to take a Vikings team total as opposed to the game total.
Was that 30.5 though? Like if it was like
it's at 29.5 right now. So
okay, that's pretty high. But yeah,
or you could go team total touchdowns over 3.5. I don't know. I just don't know how much I trust the Lions to finish off these drives. So I don't know.
What do you have here?
It's just a teaser spot for me with the Vikings. Honestly, it's it's just keep it simple. I actually just put a teaser and I was waiting for another spot to tease with, and now that the Patriots dropped, so I just put in a Patriots Vikings teaser. I'm gonna assume Dalvin Cook's yards are probably gonna be in the 90s, but maybe if we get it somewhere in the low to mid 80s, I'd look there.
He's still a little banged up though. Like I don't know if I trust that. I feel like last week he had only 9 carries for 34 yards. Alexander Madison had 10 carries for 20 yards. Like maybe with a full week of rest, he's back to fully healthy. But I feel like this could be a spot where they might lean on Madison a little bit and try and get him healthy for the rest of the year.
Yeah, maybe.
Just a thought.
Yeah, I could see it.
And the other thing about this Lions defense is I tried to find an area to target. They're pretty much just bad everywhere. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not like you want to target wide receiver ones or target the tight ends. Like they pretty much just allow yards to any
Just bet
position.
all overs, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's a fun way to look at it. Do you have any props you wanted to look at, or I couldn't nail anything down specifically?
No.
All right, let's go to possibly the ugliest game on the slate.
Oh,
Denver Broncos against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are currently 1-point favorites. Over under is a basement level 39.5. We do not have clarity on the Broncos quarterback situation yet. It could be Teddy Bridgewater trying to clear that concussion protocol. It could be Drew Lock. On the Steelers side, I believe Chase Claypool is questionable. I don't know if there's any other major injuries. For me, this all comes down to the quarterback for the Broncos. If it is Teddy B in there, I will take the Broncos at +1. I will take them in a teaser up to +7. I don't think the line holds, so you're probably going to have to jump on it as soon as he's announced in. I think Broncos go to 2.5, maybe 3-point favorites if he plays. If Drew Lock is in there, I'm not putting money on Drew Lock. I'm not putting money on the Steelers. Easy pass for me.
Yeah, so if Bridgewater's in, I'm like you, I'm taking the Broncos if it stays at probably 2 or less. And
you think it's got to move, right? If Teddy's in, this has to be.
I don't think it moves to -3, like you said. I don't think they're.
You don't think so?
I don't think it's a 4-point swing. But and look, honestly, if Drew Lock's in there, yeah, I'm going back to the Steelers. Like
you're betting.
I am.
How do you bet the Steelers?
Yeah, I'm trying not to hold a grudge week to week here. If Drew Lock, he came in last week and reminded us why they started Bridgewater. He's the guy stinks, and he's like. He has no conscience. So it's like he'll just keep taking shots and making bad decisions. And like he's not a typical backup that just comes in and, game manages like he should do with this defense. He's going to be forced into mistakes. Steelers have their backs.
He could also create big plays by doing that. Maybe he hits Courtland Sutton for an 80-yard touchdown. You know how hard it is for the Steelers
or maybe
to
throws
score
a pick
touchdown?
6, or maybe he gets sack fumbled by TJ Watt. So it's entirely based on that quarterback situation. If Bridgewater's in, I'll take the Broncos. If not, I'll take the Steelers. And I honestly, like, I was considering the under at 40.5 because I just don't see how anyone. How does a team score 20 points in this game without getting like 2 defensive touchdowns? Honestly,
well, that's the problem. If Locke and Big Ben play, you could see pick sixes, you could see sack, fumble, touchdown, scoop and score recoveries, whatever. That's my only concern with an under that low is if you get even one of them. God forbid, there's a punt return touchdown or something like.
Here's what you look for:
climbing an uphill battle.
If you get on the first 1 or 2 series, say. You do get a sack, fumble for a touchdown or a pick 6.
Oh my God. Live bet the under.
Yeah. So the over under is going to move to 42.5, 44. And who knows? So that could be a spot to go if you get an early defensive touchdown.
I like that strategy a lot. If either of these teams score on the first drive, live bet the under.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So
love that. Any other thoughts here? Both the team totals right now are 19.5. I was going to see if either of them were over 20. Maybe you could look at that. Or look at a Steelers defensive touchdown. Maybe you get that at like +300 if Lock's in there. I think that could be a nice way to look at this too.
I also don't think either side, whoever, if Bridgewater's in, whoever ends up being the underdog, I don't think it's a terrible T spot either side with a total this low. I don't think, getting over a touchdown on either side, I don't think you can really go wrong with that in a 39.5 total game.
I don't know if I can do that with the Steelers. I don't think I can get there.
All right.
We saw them get blown out at home by the Bengals like 2 weeks ago.
That we did.
All right, let's jump to the New Orleans Saints and the Washington Footballs. Footballs are 2-point home dogs. I believe this opened around a pick'em, so some money on the Saints has come in. Over under is fairly low here at a 44. I said it last week. I'm going to say it again. I hate the Saints team. They drive me crazy. I don't know what to expect week to week. They're not fun to watch. I feel like there's no point in even having Jameis on this team. Sean Payton has taken everything good and fun about Jameis Winston and just taken it away from him. Like, I feel like we're at the point where if you replace Jameis Winston with Case Keenum in this offense, like, it would be the exact same result. It's just check downs. It's don't throw an interception or the world's going to explode. There's no playmakers on the offense. But the football's defense is fraudulent. We've been saying it all season. Chase Young has 0 sacks. They let the Falcons go up and down the field last week. I don't like anything in this game. I don't like either of these teams. I got nothing here.
Yeah, you said there's no playmakers on this offense. There's Alvin Kamara on the offense, and you want to know how many?
Yeah, I meant the receiving core.
You want to know how many targets Alvin Kamara had last week?
Was it as many as I had?
It was me and you right here. We had as many targets as Alvin Kamara last week.
Yeah, we did.
What is Sean Payton doing? Like, okay,
I don't get it.
You don't have anyone on the outside for Winston to throw to, and now you're telling me Kamara's 10 catches in the first 4 games of the season. I cannot make sense of it. I would be trying to get the ball in this guy's hands every single play. And look, he had a lot of carries last week,
but that's not his strong suit. Like,
yeah,
he's never been the best running back on the ground. Like, that's not where he excels.
3 out of the 4 games this year, he's had 20 plus carries. 26 last week, 24 the week before, and 20 week 1. That's not who Alvin Kamara is. He's not a pound it between the tackles 20 times a game type of guy. He's a throw it and get him in space type of guy. So I don't know. Look, I know there's a big difference between Drew Brees and Jameis Winston, but I don't think there's a need to change your game plan as far as getting Kamara the ball in space. But Sean Payton is another great coach coming off a loss. He's 48-26 against the spread.
Don't do it.
48-26 against the spread and 25-10 on the road. 71% hit rate.
It's irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant. It's
he
something.
He had Drew Brees and one of the best teams in the league for 10 years straight.
I'm just saying. Washington, we talked about earlier with Atlanta. I don't know how much Washington won that game as much as Atlanta lost it. Kick return for a touchdown, basically a Hail Mary to take the lead. So, I don't know how much stock I can put in that. And I've said it in the past, if this defense isn't clicking, then they're a tough team to bet on. But, this game ends up just kind of being a stay away.
I wouldn't even tease the football. I honestly wouldn't even tease.
I wouldn't.
The range of outcomes in this game is like it could go anywhere.
The only thing is, like, at this point, I feel like the offenses are almost comparable. But the Saints defense, unlike the football's defense, it's still an elite defense. They're like 2nd overall in the league in DVOA. Yeah. So they're dominant against the run. They aren't getting to the quarterback. They're actually ranked 31st in the league in adjusted sack rates. That's a little bit concerning, but if you're not allowing anything on the ground, you have Marshawn Lattimore, who's going to be on Terry McLaurin. So
that'll be a fun matchup.
If this was still at a pick 'em, I might look at the Saints, but I don't know that I really want to lay points with them.
Yeah, and just another note on Kamara, the Washington Footballs do have the #1 DVOA in passing game against opposing running backs. So they held Austin Eckler to 0 catches, Saquon to 2 for 12. Bills don't really have any pass catching running backs, and then Mike Davis went 2 for 12 and a touchdown. So Cordell Patterson did torch them last week, but I don't know if he's necessarily considered a running back or a wide receiver, more of a hybrid. So just a note on Kamara that it may be a tough matchup for him in addition to his offense not wanting to throw him the ball for some reason.
Yeah, at Eckler week 1, he was injured, so they were being cautious. Barkley wasn't fully back from his injury really when they played. So, yeah, somewhat.
Sounds like a lot of excuses.
Maybe a little bit misleading, but yeah.
Stats don't lie.
All right.
Unless they do. Any props you would look at here? I wouldn't look at a McLaurin. You can't really bet a prop on the Saints team. Like, you can't do it. So
no, nothing.
All right. No need to spend more time on that game. Let's go to the Bears and the Raiders. Raiders are 5-point home favorites. Over under is 44. We did get confirmation today that Justin Fields will be the starter. Thank you, Lord.
Now you're trying to save his job.
Is that what he does? Because I feel like every time he talks, he's trying to give his job away and they just won't follow him. Raiders finally came back down to earth last week against the Chargers. They were in for a rough game, down 21-0 at halftime. David Montgomery is going to be out 4 to 5 weeks for the Bears, so it's going to be Damian Williams in the backfield. I kind of like the Bears here. When I was making my numbers before the week, I had this one at Raiders -3.5, assuming that Fields would play. I think getting over 4, I got him 5.5 or 6. I can't remember. It was even an expensive 6 or a cheap 5.5. But I think Fields looked pretty good last week from a real life football perspective. He didn't have a ton of stats, but I think if he just uses his legs a little bit more, we saw some deep shots to Mooney. I like that. I just kind of have a feeling that the Bears are going to be live in this one. I don't even mind their money line at like plus 200.
Yeah, I think I'd need a 6 or 6.5 before I back the Bears. I was all over the Chargers last week against the Raiders, and I said that the key to beating this Raiders team right now is just limit the big plays, and that's exactly what they did. They kept them under wraps, and they got pressure on Carr. So that seems to be the key, and it's exactly what happened. They look very vulnerable when they're not getting those big plays. So maybe if the Bears dive into the film and see that, maybe they take the same approach here. And like you said, it's all about, I just need to see Justin Fields use his legs more. And design runs for the guy, and also get Allen Robinson involved in the offense. The guy's been absolutely non-existent to start the season. So use the weapons you have, and that's Fields' legs. It's Allen Robinson. Yeah, you have Mooney as a deep shot, but I don't know. It's so tough to back this Bears team with Nagy coaching right now. I don't trust them. I'm kind of with you. It seems like a little bit too many points, but this game as of right now is a stay away for me.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to make the case. I feel like it's a little bit about what I was seeing with Trevor Lawrence early in the season. I felt like he needed to try and use his legs more. And we've kind of seen that when he gets into trouble now, instead of just chucking the ball up into 3 defenders, he's trying to use his legs to scramble. So if Justin Fields can do that a little bit more, not that he's thrown a ton of interceptions, but I think that if he can use his legs, that gives him a dynamic element that I think will help this Bears offense a ton, because they are in need of explosive plays and playmakers and all that. So Bears for me. I am going to look at a Justin Fields touchdown prop. I think without Montgomery in there, you might see him used at the red zone, maybe at the goal line a little bit more. So I think if you can find, I think last week it was like plus 210, plus 215. I think that's a fair look for him for an anytime touchdown, and maybe like a Henry Ruggs over longest reception. He's been the deep threat for this Raiders team. I think it's around 22.5 right now in DraftKings as I'm pulling it up. So maybe you look at those as props, but this is not a game that we expect a ton of points in. So, nothing great here for me.
Yeah, no props for me in this game.
All right, let's go to our debate of the week. We have the Cleveland Browns taking on the LA Chargers. Chargers are 2-point home favorites. Over under is 46.5. I'm going to be on the Chargers here. You are going to be on the Browns. I will state my case first. Browns, obviously, have an impressive start to the season. This is a team that I was high on coming into the year, but I think this is a tough spot for them. We have back-to-back road games, played at Minnesota last week. Now they're going to be at the Chargers. Got a tough fought win last week against the Vikings. Baker Mayfield was not good. Now, we know Baker is extremely inconsistent. There's a chance that he comes out this week and lights up the Chargers defense. Honestly, I wouldn't even be that surprised because he's so inconsistent. But I just think that in a game that I think is going to be very close, it's got a lower total. I would even lean to the under at 46.5. I think if you just look at the mismatch between Herbert and Baker Mayfield, I think like that's exactly what I was saying in our season preview. I was worried about buying into the Browns taking the next step because I just didn't think that Baker could compete with these quarterbacks at the next level. When he goes up against a Mahomes and a Josh Allen and a Lamar and a Justin Herbert, he's just out of his league. So I think that this game's going to come down to the wire. I think they're two very evenly matched teams, two of the best young coaches in the league. I doubt there's going to be many punts or field goals because these coaches love to go for it on fourth down. I think in a game that's going to be decided by 3 or 4 points, give me the team with a better quarterback. Give me the team at home. Give me the Chargers.
All right. Just absolutely terrible on your part there. First of all, in a game that's going to be decided by 3 or 4 points like that, yeah, I'll take the 2 points then. But regardlly,
well, if it's going to be decided by 3 or 4, the 2
I'm just saying, like in that range, it's still you're giving me points. But regardless, this isn't just my God. What a terrible case by you. I,
You say
this
that
isn't
every week.
because this isn't a Baker Mayfield versus Justin Herbert. That's not what it is. That's not the type of game. That's not the type of game the
That's what
Browns
it's going to be
play.
down minutes
No,
at the wire.
no,
Yes, it
I'm
is.
approaching this game the same exact way I approached that Vikings game last year. The only thing I'll give you, the one good point you made in that long ramble, everything else was absolutely terrible, is it's a tough travel spot for the Browns. Yeah, I agree. 2 road games, traveling out. Yeah, it's a tough travel spot. That's about all you got out of that argument. So well done for putting together all those words.
Stop
and coming
talking
up
about
with
me
one
and make
point.
your case.
Look, that game last week was just the embodiment of why this Browns team is what if you're listening, Jeff is, or if you're not watching, Jeff is holding up a sign that says boo. Look, it was just the embodiment of why this Browns team is dangerous. The run game started off slow, like I said, they kept pounding away. Eventually with this O-line and these running backs that you can just keep fresh. Two of the top running backs in the league, you just keep them fresh by rotating them. The defense is going to break. It just wears on you.
The Chargers have Eckler and Larry Roundtree. It's the same thing. It's a 1-2 punch. It's a dynamic team.
And when they can run the ball and just play keep away, the Browns are second in the league in time of possession. Last week, 36 minutes to 24 minutes. So it doesn't matter if Herbert's that much better than Baker, if the time of possession is skewed that much, like it has been for the Browns most of the season. So Chargers right now, they were dead last. They were dead last heading into last week in line yards. They had played a bad Raiders line and moved to 6th worst. So they improved to 6th worst in line yards, which is not a good stat to have against this Browns offensive line. They were getting gashed on the ground weeks 1 to 4. It's really a game. I just see a similar game stream. I don't expect Baker. And that's the thing. You're saying how bad Baker was. Baker was that bad. Missed a couple touchdown passes, and they still won this game. I really never felt like they were in danger of losing it once they got the lead.
Chargers are better than the Vikings.
Okay, that's fine. But again, I don't think Baker's going to be as bad, and I don't think they're going to have an answer for this ground attack. And look, and you're saying it yourself, the Browns defense, top 3 in the league. I still don't think they're getting the respect they deserve. So I think this is going to be a tough matchup for the Chargers. I really do. I absolutely love the Browns here. I actually jumped on them too early because I got their money line at -110, and now they're 2-point underdogs. So I jumped on it too early, but I love the Browns here either way.
Okay, so I feel like we've agreed that the Chargers the run defense has mostly been schematic. It's not that they're necessarily a bad run defense, it's that their defensive game plan is to allow the other team to run the ball, to limit the big plays and limit the passing. I feel like this game, they can morph their defense into more of a run-stopping unit because the Browns don't really have down-the-field threats. Maybe you have Odell, but if Baker can't throw a ball to him anyway, it doesn't matter. I feel like the fact that they're so low in the defensive metrics against the run, I don't think that's necessarily what they're going to be this week. I think they're going to be able to stop the run a lot more than people think. It's just because it's a different game plan this week.
No, line yards, that's not a schematic stat. That basically comes down. That basically comes down to the push the defensive line is getting.
If you have really 3 guys on the defensive line rather than like 4 and a linebacker up there, you're not going to get as good of a push.
But that's not the schematic approach they were taking. The schematic approach was let's not allow big plays. So yeah, maybe they don't have as many linebackers in the box, but their D line's not getting a push, and the Browns are 1 or 2. I think.
But even if the safeties are 2 or 3 yards up now, instead of those 7 or 8 yards runs, now maybe they're 4 or 5 yard runs. Like that makes a difference.
Yeah. And look, the Vikings came out and had a great game plan. They were shutting down the run, like I said early on. But when you just keep pounding away,
they pounded it away to 1 touchdown and 2 field goals. Like that's not enough to beat the Chargers.
They had 184 rushing yards. Yeah,
but they turned it into nothing.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you. It is enough when the other team has the ball for 24 total minutes and you're fielding a top 3 defense. It's not against in certain games. It's going to be enough.
In certain games, I don't think this is one of them.
All right, that's fine. You're wrong, but. I don't know how else to put it.
All right. We'll see what happens here. I will say I do like the Browns and teasers here. Like I said, I think this is going to be a close game. I think the Chargers win it by a field goal somewhere between that 3 and 7 range. I do think the Browns at +8 is a pretty good bet here in a low total game with 2 of the better teams in the league. So I will give you that.
And you know how I know I just crush you in these debates, because even last week when I
What do you
beat
mean
you,
how you you
even
didn't beat me
no, no, or
last week?
sorry,
What do you
even last week when you beat me, I scared you off because I saw
what?
you only placed like a half unit bet on the Packers last week because I scared you off. You were
That's
shaking
because
in
I
your
had him in 10 different
nah. I
teasers.
scared you because you're like, oh
I
man,
can show you my bet. I had
he
like
made a really good
$500 on the Packers last
nah.
week between their money line. Yes, I only had half a unit on the spread. You're right.
You came off and he was like, man, he made a really good case. I don't know if I can go a full unit on this
I had
-7. Nah, dude, I
zero
don't want to hear
concern
it.
about the
That's
Pittsburgh
weak. That's
Steelers.
weak. I better see a full unit bet on the Chargers this week.
All right, you will. I'm gonna wait and see where the line goes. I feel like it's gonna drift back towards the Browns. I feel like this is gonna go back down to Chargers -1, maybe a pick 'em that I'm gonna buy in.
All right.
All right, let's go to the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys, a battle in the NFC East. Cowboys are 7-point home favorites. Over under is 52.5. Giants have been playing some better football these past 2 weeks, at least on offense. But I do believe there is a clear mismatch in this game. I think this Cowboys offense is elite. They're going to score on the Giants just about every time they touch the ball. So the question here is, can Danny Dimes and this New York Giants offense keep up? Rue, what say you?
Yeah, you kind of said I really don't think this Giants team. Well, I should say their offense is really as bad as they're perceived.
Yeah,
I think they're a team that can kind of compete in a lot of games this year. Defense, obviously, like you said, a massive concern, and it's just crazy that it's kind of flip flop that the offense is what I somewhat have more confidence in for the Giants this year.
it's the opposite
Uh,
of last year.
yeah, the offense is currently ranked 12th in DVOA in the league, which honestly isn't bad. It really makes a huge difference having Barkley healthy in this offense. Rookie Kadarius Toney looks really good. I think he's going to start getting more involved in the offense, and Daniel Jones is taking care of the ball a lot better than he has in the past. I think he has 2 interceptions this year. The one he threw last week was just a Hail Mary before half that he just chucked up. Hasn't lost a fumble yet this year. He wasn't sacked last week, which was a huge plus last week. I really think if they establish more of a consistent ground game, obviously the offensive line is definitely still a concern. But yeah, I think this can be a pretty decent offense throughout the season. However,
the Cowboys are my favorite team on earth, and they're
the
amazing.
Cowboys, this offense, it continues to show that they're probably the most complete offense in the league. And coming into the season, this whole team was supposed to be viewed as Dak's going to have to throw for 400 yards every game to keep up because his defense is so bad. But really, it's been the opposite. They've really been running the ball fantastic with their 2 running backs.
Zeke looks good. I'll give him
it. Zeke looks good. Tony Pollard's a nice mix in there. And the defense has been good. That final score last week was a bit misleading. The Cowboys were pretty much in control of that game. Panthers got some late scores to end up making it a 8-point game, ended up scoring 28 points. But team ranked 2nd in the NFL in overall team DVOA. They're right up there in the NFC race as far as I'm concerned in the Super Bowl contenders. Last 10 games versus the Giants, Cowboys are 7-3 straight up, 6-3-1 against the spread, and are actually 4-1 in those 10 games against the spread where it was 6 points or more. I'm kind of hoping some more money comes in on the Giants and maybe get this down to 6, and I'll look at the Cowboys. Right now, Cowboys are a tease piece for me and will absolutely be looking to get them live, see if I can get their money line a good number or maybe a lower spread live.
Yeah, I think this is a good teaser leg. I don't know if it's necessarily my favorite one, but I certainly think it's an option. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this may be the only game this season where Mike McCarthy isn't the dumbest coach on the field, because Joe Judge is pretty dumb.
And Jason Garrett's over there too.
And that puts them over the top. Mike McCarthy has the coaching advantage in this game. I'm calling it big advantage for the Cowboys. Player props here. We've had couple weeks where CeeDee Lamb's been a little quiet. Like you said, the whole Dallas passing game the last week really wasn't clicking that much. We've seen a lot of the tight ends, not a ton of yardage from Dak. I don't really have any great feels here. Probably going to have Trayvon Diggs on Kenny Golladay. So maybe you could look at like a Saquon Barkley receiving yards if Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton are both out. But I don't know. I feel like this Cowboys offense is a little bit hard to tell who's going to break out from week to week just because they have a lot of options and a lot of ways they can beat you.
Yeah, I don't have any props. Like you said, I don't know if they're going to come out. Look, Dak threw 58 passes in week 1. Since then, he hasn't thrown more than 27 passes. It's so when they can run the ball, that's what they're going to do. They're going to lean on the run game when they can. They probably should be able to have some success running the ball with how well their offensive line's doing right now. So, yeah, a team that we thought was going to be awesome for props this year, not so great. So, it's. But look, it's not necessarily a bad thing for their offense. If you don't need to force the pass and you can just same thing, kind of take control of the game. That's how you
they're
win
having
football
success
games.
on the
Yeah,
ground.
so
It makes sense. So I think it just comes down to whether or not the Giants can stop them on the ground, and I don't have a great feel for whether they can. I feel like they probably can't.
yeah, Dak 4 touchdown passes on 22 attempts last week, so that's pretty
Hyper efficient.
as long as they can move the ball, he's still he's tied for 3rd in the league in touchdown passes. So my Dak most touchdown passes in the NFL preseason bet is looking alive right now.
Alive and well.
Yes.
All right, let's jump to Sunday Night Football, the second leg of an incredible primetime viewing experience for us this week. Sunday Night Football, Bills and the Chiefs. Chiefs are 2.5-point home favorites. Over under is a sky high 56.5.
Wait, you skipped the 4:00 game.
I got so excited I skipped the 4:00 game. All right.
Yeah, we can skip
here.
this one. That's fine.
No. I actually like this game a lot. All right. We'll go back to 49ers and Cardinals here. I got a little bit excited. So Cardinals are 5.5-point home favorites. Over under is down to 49.5. Looks like this opened at 52.5. So quite a bit of movement to the under here. Cardinals are the last remaining undefeated team in football. For the 49ers, we do not have clarity on their quarterback situation. It looked like it was going to be Trey Lance season, but now it's looking like Jimmy G's kind of up in the air. I'm kind of hoping Trey Lance starts here. Either way, for me, this just feels like too many points. These NFC West games, I just don't see how you can make the case that any of them should ever be lined at more than 3, maybe 3.5. Like these teams are all I think they're all incredibly good. They're going to trade blows. They're going to knock each other down, beat each other up, win some, lose some. So for me, this is one of the easiest bets on the board. 49ers plus 5.5. It's just too many points.
Yeah, 5.5 is just a dead zone for me. It's
I know. I hate those. Anytime between 4 and 6, I hate those numbers. It's weird.
Yeah, so it's not a play for me. If it, it's probably too much for me to give with the Cardinals, and it's not at a point where I'm like, yeah, I have to take this with the 49ers. So
if it got the 6,
to say it's one of the best bets on the whatever you.
It's
just
just
said,
an easy. It's just such an easy bet to me. Like you just look. It's just too many.
Is it though? It's. I mean, the Cardinals are home.
Yes, it should be minus 3.5. That should be the spread.
How can it be minus 3.5, especially if they're starting a rookie quarterback, especially with how bad rookie quarterbacks have been this year?
I get that, but I just think that Trey Lance opens up so much in this offense. You saw him; he came in for a half last week and he ran for 41 yards. He looked.
I'm not arguing with you, but to say
I think that Kyle Shanahan
bets,
with a running quarterback can really open up this offense. I'm just saying easy in terms of I just think that there's value in the number. Like I think that I'm not saying that the Niners are definitely going to cover, but I just think that the difference between this spread and what I would project the spread to be is as high, if not higher, than any other game on the board.
Right. What would you make this spread?
I said Cardinals 3.5. There's 2 points difference between what I would make and what the spread is. That I can't say that for any other game.
If Trey Lance is starting, you got it'll be his first start. I know he played some last week. He's gonna make mistakes, and with the way this Cardinals offense is playing right now, I don't know how much room you have to make mistakes.
It's a sell high spot on the card. You talked about this last week.
Yeah, that's fair. It's not a sell high spot I'm targeting.
Okay.
I just don't think there's enough there. My sell high spots last week were on teams that, like, the Cardinals are a good team, whether it's a sell high. The Panthers were a sell high, who I wasn't a believer in that team, playing against the Cowboys, who are one of the better teams in the league. And the other sell high spot was the Ravens, who are one of the best teams in the AFC, playing the Broncos. So different sell high spot scenario for me, at least here. So I don't have a play on this right now.
Okay. Would you look at any props? We do have, it looks like George Kittle is banged up as usual, probably going to play. Elijah Mitchell, 49ers running back, is questionable, so I'm not sure if it's going to be him or Trey Sermon taking the bulk of the work. I don't have really any props here. The Cardinals offense, as explosive as they've been, it's been pretty hard to nail down who's going to show up and have a big game.
Yeah, everyone on the offense is getting the same, target share, basically, it seems like, and now James Conner's getting worked in a lot in the backfield. So it's just an overall good offense that pretty much uses all their pieces. So yeah, it's tough for props in this game.
All right, Now
we can, you can get on.
Sunday Night Football, baby. Let's go. Bills and the Chiefs. Chiefs 2.5-point home favorites. Over under is a sky high 56.5. This is a rematch of the AFC title game from last year, won by the Chiefs 38-24. Tyreek Hill torched them for 172-1. Travis Kelce went for 118-2. For me, this game comes down to two burning questions. We know the Bills will be able to move the ball versus the Swiss cheese defense of the Chiefs, but the question is, can they score touchdowns in the red zone? The Bills lead the league by a pretty wide margin in field goals kicked in the red zone. They have 8 field goals attempted in the red zone through 4 games. The next highest team is the Patriots at 6. So if the Bills want to win this game, they need to get touchdowns and not field goals. The second burning question for me is, we know the Chiefs offense will have success. Can the Bills defense slow them down a little bit, force a punt here and there, get a turnover, make them kick a field goal instead of scoring a touchdown? I believe they can. I'm on the Bills here. I took the money line at plus 125. Let's go Buffalo.
Yeah, this for me was the easiest bet of the week.
Really?
There's no reason. Okay, you want to factor in home field or whatever. The Bills to me are clearly the better team. Just clearly, and the Chiefs are still getting this market love, which they've earned. They've earned the love in the market where just being the Chiefs gains you this respect in the spread.
Despite the fact that they never cover a spread.
Despite the fact they never cover a spread, I grabbed the Bills +3 as soon as it opened. I was going to double back if it ended up moving, in the Bills' favor, get them to 3.5, 4, whatever. So, it's that simple for me. I just think there is no reason the Bills should be getting 3 points in a game like this. They can score to me just as easily as this Chiefs offense can score, and their defense is 1,000 times better. You're looking at teams on just the polar opposite end of the spectrum in terms of defense in the NFL right now. Bills are top 2, Chiefs are bottom 1. So that's how I look at it, and it's just give me the Bills all day here. I think they win this game outright.
You're not worried about their red zone offense at all? I mean, they were kicking field goals left and right against the Texans last week.
It doesn't concern me.
Okay. Is this the Stephon Diggs breakout week? Because I feel like he's due for just an explosion.
Yeah, it's not, it's a good week to target that. And like I said before, though, Emmanuel Sanders is so involved. Dawson Knox is so involved. So this is kind of trending towards another offense that's using all the weapons they have. They're using both running backs. So depending on what Diggs props are at, it's not going to, it could be a target. But
they just released the props, but only for the Chiefs right now. We do not have Bills props yet.
Okay. Yeah, so it might not be a bad spot, but I don't know. That's the thing, though. I don't know if you're going to get a buy low type of line in a matchup like this. That's my only issue.
That's fair. All right, so Bills for both of us. Will you have any play on the money line?
Oh, yeah, that's going to be in my long shot this week, so we'll get back to that.
Okay, nice. All right, anything else to say on props here? Or are we moving on?
Moving on.
All right, Monday Night Football. Wrap up the week here with the almost called them the Baltimore Colts. Indianapolis Colts against the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens are down to 6.5-point home favorites. Over under is at 45. This line opened at Ravens -7. I was honestly expecting one-way action here. I thought this spread was going to get up to 7.5, 8, even 8.5. I was shocked when I saw this morning it was down under a touchdown. I had to lay it here with the Ravens. I think this D-line is going to give Carson Wentz fits. We know he loves to hold the ball. The Ravens are kind of rolling right now. So I think they're fine at 6.5. Love them in teasers. Probably my favorite teaser leg on the board. Do you think the Colts can put up a fight here at all? Anything I'm missing? What do you got?
Yeah, this is just a straight awesome teaser spot for me with the Ravens.
Straight awesome.
Straight awesome. Straight up awesome, dog. Straight up teaser spot with the Ravens. The Colts are just one of those teams that I feel like I don't think they're a good team, but I think they can compete. They've moved the ball well enough this year we talked about the red zone offense to put themselves in position to compete. It's just a little too many points as high, as as much as I love the Ravens this season, I'm just not. I don't want to lay this many points in too many games.
Sound like
right?
you're struggling here.
I
Pains
am
you.
because it's like I'm looking at it. It's like I should like the Ravens, but I can't get there. It's a tough one for me. But I love them to win, and I'd love to get them live. So that's kind of where I am on these games with these 6.5, 7-point spreads. I don't want to lay. I just look to get them live. It's really worked out for me. Did it with the Bengals on Thursday night. Did it with the Panthers on Thursday night.
You've been crushing that.
Yeah, so that's been working out. I mean, I've been laying some bigger odds, but it's been working out. So that'll be another game I look to do that in.
Do you have any props here? I don't have anything I would look at before I jump over.
Yeah, nothing for me here. Unless we get Paris Campbell rush yards again.
Oh baby, if we get Paris Campbell rush yards, we're going under again. That was a smash hit. All right, so real quick before we wrap up and go to our long shots and all that stuff, let me just read you off the teaser options, and let me just get your thoughts on what your favorite teaser is on the board. Would you go Patriots down to 2.5, Vikings down to 2.5, Cowboys down to -1, or Ravens down to -0.5, or Bills up to 8.5?
So my favorite right now is going to be a Cowboys and Ravens teaser. I told you the success the Cowboys have had against the Giants recently, and they're at home, and then you have Ravens at home on a Monday. I don't see either of these teams losing these games, so that'd be my favorite. I have 2 teasers in. That's one, and then the other one I just put in during the show, which was I was waiting on the Patriots, and then I did them with the Vikings. So those are my 2 teasers for this week.
All right. With that, let's kick it over to our long shot of the week. You want to do the honors?
Yes. So I just said it. I am going with the Bills money line. And now that the Browns are underdogs, I will take them as well at plus money. And that gets us plus 361 odds. So Bills, Browns money line on DraftKings plus 361 odds.
Wow. Bills, Browns money line parlay. I like it. All right. For my underdog, I mean, my long shot of the week, I'm also going to go to an underdog. I'm definitely going to do 49ers money line. I was going to do it with Trey Lance to get 40 or 50 rush yards. We don't have his props yet, but that's where I'm thinking. So if Trey Lance is starting, I'm going to take Niners money line and Trey Lance over rush yards. If Trey Lance is not starting, I will pivot to a Jets money line and the over 43 in that game. That is my backup plan.
Okay.
All right. Let's go to our favorite bets of the week. Rue, kick it off.
All right. Starting to scare me because I'm on a lot of road teams this week, but I am going with the Green Bay Packers at the Cincinnati Bengals.
Wow.
In my mind, this just kind of plays out, like I said, as an Aaron Rodgers versus Joe Burrow type game. And yeah, I'm going to take Aaron Rodgers that he is 3 points better than Joe Burrow. So give me the Packers -3.
All right. My favorite bet of the week, I'm going to go with a 6-point teaser. I'm going to go with a pair of home teams. We're going to take the Baltimore Ravens down to 0.5 point, and we're going to take the Minnesota Vikings down to 2 points. Might be 2.5, depending on what book you're looking at. But yeah, that's going to be my 6-point teaser. I think the Vikings is a great get-right spot for them. They are just a class above the Lions. They'll be able to score enough points to get the W here. And the Ravens on Monday night at home against the Indianapolis Colts, I am supremely confident they win the game, and that's all they have to do to cover this teaser leg. So that's going to be my lock of the week. Favorite bet of the week. Sorry. Whoa there. All right. Are we doing a parlay here?
Yeah.
All right.
Even with the name change, I guess we'll still throw one in.
Yeah, they've been so successful. What could go wrong? All right, some options here.
All right, I got our first one. Let's go Titans money line. It's
Titans money line
-195 right now. That's a pretty good odds in a parlay.
Can we put a contingency on it that one of the receivers has to play?
All right, fine.
All right. So Titans money line.
How do you feel about my Bucks halftime full time?
Love it.
Okay.
Love everything about it.
Okay. Throw that in. It's actually now minus 200. So gonna need probably 2 more legs unless we take an underdog or something here.
My player props, we have Jamison Crowder over 4.5 receptions or Trevor Lawrence over 18.5 rush yards. Team total, we have Texans under 14.5 or Bills over 27 on FanDuel only. Feel like any of them?
I am on board. Let's throw in that player prop. I am on board for Jamison Crowder.
All right, Crowder over 4.5 receptions.
And let's get one more. I will tell you in 1 second. That gets us to plus 295. I already have Bills money line. Should we throw it in the parlay too?
All right, let's do it.
It seems like we're both pretty heavy on the Bills. So
what could go wrong? Are you gonna hedge this that this comes down to Sunday night and this is our last leg? Because I'm gonna lose my mind if you do.
No, I really the only way I'm hedging is if I get a number on the Chiefs live that I can buy back on. Like I was on the Chargers.
You try and hit both bets.
Yeah, so I did it successfully on Monday night with the Chargers. I had the Chargers -3 going in, and then I grabbed the Raiders at plus 18.5 at halftime, and then also bet the Raiders team total over 13.5 in the second half. So I hit 3 bets there. That was pretty awesome.
Well, good for you. Some of us got the Raiders live at plus 10.5 and weren't so lucky.
Should have waited a little longer.
Apparently.
But yeah, no, I'm not hedging pregame if that's what you're asking.
All right, so read us back the final parlay and what odds we got here.
All right, we got Tennessee Titans money line, Tampa Bay Buccaneers halftime, full-time Jamison Crowder over 4.5 receptions, Buffalo Bills money line against the putrid Kansas City Chiefs defense. That gets us to plus 788 odds.
All right, 788. I love it. That's our highest one of the year so far, I believe. So let's hope it comes home.
And since we've been hitting all the lower ones, then this one should hit no problem, right?
Yeah. All right. So before we get out of here, we got to do one more parlay. It is slowly becoming my favorite parlay.
It didn't hit last week.
What? It didn't?
Did you not put the Titans in?
No, I didn't. I said I was going to leave them out because
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So my chalk donkey parlay hit. Your variation did not. So let's make a chalk donkey parlay.
All right. So we got Patriots. We got Bucks.
All right. Patriots, Bucks,
Vikings. And I think you would go Ravens after that.
Ravens or Cowboys?
I could take either one, to be honest. I'm going to go Ravens.
They're both exactly minus 320. All right, let's go Ravens. All right, so our chalk donkey parlay of the week, we have the Bucks money line, Patriots money line, Vikings money line, and the Ravens money line. That gets you to a cool, crisp plus 153 4-leg chalk donkey money line parlay.
Beautiful.
Love it. All right, anything else to say here?
Nope.
All right, well, that is a wrap for us. We hope everyone has an awesome week 5. Any questions, comments, or concerns, hit us up on Twitter at Parlays for Days Pod. It will soon become at BetRightPod. We are in the process of changing our name and logo, so if you see that on Twitter, don't be alarmed. That is the new look moving forward. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Smash the like button on YouTube. Been waiting to say that, been dying to say that. Smash the like button. From Jeff and Rue here, we are the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast because every time you bet with us, you bet right.
Oh, no.